I do want to start with Senator Cassidy's defeat in Louisiana last night. It's just the latest example of the president successfully getting revenge against Republicans who cross him. What do you make of that?
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, in my experience, Senator Cassidy is a normal, honest, and very conservative Republican. And it turns out people like that have less and less of a home in Donald Trump's Republican Party. We are seeing more and more extreme candidates put forward in their House and Senate races, which does create a big opening for Democrats. That doesn't mean that Democrats don't have to do the work, but I think it shows you that the Republican Party is organized less and less around conservative principles, more and more around one man. And as that one man remains deeply unpopular, they're having a very hard time convincing the rest of America to vote for them, which is why they're spending less time convincing their voters and more time rearranging voters and silencing voters through gerrymandering.
So let's talk about redistricting. The House Democratic leader has a plan to push blue states to redistrict in the next couple of years as a way to neutralize what looks like a Republican redistricting advantage heading into the midterms. Last month, you called Republican efforts to redistrict cheating. Are Democrats also cheating?
Well, let's be very clear about what's going on right now, which is a systematic effort to dismantle black political representation in the House of Representatives. What we're seeing amounts to the biggest reversal of black political power since the Voting Rights Act itself. It is wrong, it is unfair, and we never should have been here in the first place. Now, we have seen Democrats around the country, states that are more Democratic, taking action to try to offset or balance out the Republican gerrymandering. But Democrats didn't ask for this, and Americans didn't ask for this. We should have and could have fair maps across the country where in every state, red, blue, and purple, people are arranged into communities that actually make sense, district lines that look like normal shapes instead of these bizarre creations. And with the algorithms and the mathematical precision going into redistricting now, it has become even more extreme. I think Americans are fed up with it. I think we're fed up with a country where about 1 out of 10 House races are actually even competitive, and the other 9 out of 10, you pretty much know who's going to win before the first vote is even cast. And we'd be better off just to have broad-based reform. I think that's something that Democrats would welcome Republicans working with us on, but instead they have chosen this last-minute redistricting. I mean, in Louisiana, they were so focused on this, they actually stopped a primary where votes were already being cast so they could hurry up and rearrange the lines. And again, the racial element to this is particularly disturbing.
So I hear what you're saying about the fact that this is just bad for democracy and America. And when I say this, I mean gerrymandering. But what is going on right now is there is a redistricting war that, at least in the short term, Democrats engaged in and lost. So my question is, going forward, do you agree with the Democratic leadership's plan to try to push for changing the lines in blue states the Democrats control in order to try to get to at least maybe a wash?
Yeah, obviously, if Republicans are going to do this, Democrats have to try to offset it. But we would all be better off if it wasn't happening in the first place.
Okay, you are in Montana to support a ballot initiative that would amend the state constitution to ban corporate money from elections. Now, you didn't take PAC money during your 2020 presidential campaign, but you did raise more than $100 million in a year, including from corporate executives on Wall Street. What would you do differently if you run in 2028? Would you still take that money from the individuals who are on Wall Street and in corporations?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with individuals giving up to the legal limit. I think it's about $3,000 to participate in a campaign. But what we're seeing right now is millions and millions and millions of dollars of often dark money, super PAC money coming directly from corporations. And it is horrifically distorting our politics. Now, there's this idea that there's just nothing you can do about this, that we just have to accept in the wake of Citizens United that there will be absurd amounts of corporate money dominating our elections year after year. I don't believe that. And the people of Montana are standing up. Montana has a long political tradition of standing up to corruption. Very excited to see what they're doing here. They have an initiative. It's called the Montana Plan. It's a ballot initiative that would handle this not by trying to regulate campaign speech, which is what runs afoul of the Supreme Court, but by using the power of citizens to define what a corporation is. State law that defines what corporations can and cannot be. Try to come at it from that angle. It's creative, it is people-powered, and I'm here to cheer on the volunteers who are out there getting signatures to make sure that this goes to the voters for this fall.
I want to ask about the economy. Inflation is at a 3-year high. Gas prices are spiking. Wages no longer keep pace with the cost of living. And yet, your party, the Democratic Party, doesn't have anything to show for it in terms of the political headway that you would think that they would have with voters. A Pew poll shows that Democrats have a 39% favorability rating, roughly about the same as the last 2 years. So in this economic climate, why can't Democrats catch on more with voters?
Well, in this climate right now, the Republican failure on the economy and President Trump's unpopularity has created an opening for Democrats. Now, an opening is not the same thing as a solution. Democrats need to be making clear what it is that we would actually do differently. It's not enough to just be against the other guy. Believe me, I am, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the president's breaking his promises, about his failure to bring down costs, about his launching the Iraq war, which is why everything from diesel to fertilizer to mortgages costs more now. But we also have to remind people of the things that we are for. We are for things like Medicaid. We are for expanding your access to health insurance. We are for raising wages in this country. People need to see a proactive governing agenda. Things like paid parental and family leave. Things like political reform to do away with gerrymandering and corporate money in politics. I think the more we talk about that, alongside of our rightful criticism of the Trump administration's chaos and corruption, that's really the formula to earn trust and have success, not just in November, but as a governing majority.
Secretary Buttigieg, I have to ask you about what the current Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, is doing. He filmed, I think everybody knows this at this point, a road trip reality series. You criticized it. Your husband, Chasten, said that Secretary Duffy and his wife threw endless fits on national television when you worked from your son's ICU bedside. And now Secretary Duffy is criticizing you on social media. He's making videos about you. He said that the, quote, radical, miserable left hates his road trip because they don't want people to celebrate America. Your response?
I love road trips. I love America. I actually took a taxpayer-funded road trip lasting about 7 months. It was in Afghanistan. This is something very different. This is not about patriotism. And it is an embarrassment to have him going around saying that a road trip, quote, fits any budget at a time when more and more Americans cannot afford a road trip because of the explosion in diesel prices and gas prices caused directly by the Iran war and by the Trump administration. To make road trips unaffordable and then go around celebrating your own road trip is exactly what people are so frustrated about. And part of why the Duffy road trip scandal has been such an embarrassment to the Trump administration is it's happening at the same moment that Trump is alienating voters by making it clear that he doesn't care. He even specifically said, right, when he was asked recently, that Americans' financial situation is not something he's focused on, not something that's on his mind. And this administration never misses a chance to show it. Then, of course, you have the issue of the corruption involved. I mean, the fact that you have a transportation industry lobbyist running an effort to funnel money from corporate sponsors regulated by the Department of Transportation to pay for this project is just nakedly unfair, wrong, and part of what people are so frustrated about in Donald Trump's pay-to-play Washington. And I think the third thing that is really on people's minds is what's going on over there. If they're doing stuff like this and posting memes all day, are they attending to the actual issues that Americans are most concerned about in transportation? You know, we just saw quietly a Friday news dump out of the Department of Transportation at the end of last week saying that they were going to cut the target for air traffic control hiring, slash the air traffic control targets by about 2,000. I'm very puzzled by this. I don't know why you would be cutting down targets for air traffic control when the one thing I think most of us agree on is that there's a shortage around air traffic control. Maybe it's because they've been struggling to hire. I noticed that under my successor, the pace of hiring air traffic controllers slowed down dramatically to less than a dozen net new certified professional controllers compared to what we were doing on my watch. Maybe it's got something to do with that. I don't know. But clearly the priorities are out of whack, and the priority should be making sure that Americans have safe and affordable transportation.
Before I let you go, Secretary Duffy is also blaming you for the shutdown of Spirit Airlines. You were Transportation Secretary, and you publicly supported your administration, the Biden administration's decision to block the merger with Spirit and JetBlue. Since Spirit is gone, 17,000 people have lost their jobs. In retrospect, was blocking that merger a mistake?
No. Spirit Airlines shut down because the Iran war sent jet fuel prices through the roof. This is not about an antitrust decision from 2 or 3 years ago. But I'll also say, if Spirit and JetBlue had merged, it's very possible that that would have taken down 2 airlines instead of 1. We took action to protect consumers, and we found that that proposed merger violated the law, which is what a judge found as well. But trying to reach back a year, 2 years, 3 years for excuses for what's happening on your watch is a tremendous show of weakness. And I think the more the Trump administration shows that it is obsessed with blaming people who've been out of power for quite a while, rather than deep into their own second year trying to actually solve problems. I think it's exactly why Americans are increasingly turning away from Republicans and from the Trump White House.
I do have one more question, and that is, if you do run for president and you win your party's nomination, there is a pretty good chance you would go up against J.D. Vance. I want you to listen to what he said about your party this week.
This is not, unfortunately, this is not my grandmother's Democrat Party, right? This is not the party of sort of socially conservative, patriotic people. It's now the party of left-wing radicalism.
Would he be a formidable opponent in 2028?
Well, look, there's been a bit of a stink politically around the Trump administration generally and J.D. Vance politically. He tends not to be very successful when he's out campaigning for people, even overseas. It seems to have been the kind of nail in the coffin of Viktor Orban in Hungary. We'll see what happens politically. But what I know is when you're out there doing that kind of name calling, it shows how removed you are from the center of gravity of the American people. Most Americans want the wealthy to pay their fair share in taxes, not these billionaire tax cuts. Want there to be more access to health care, not these cuts to Medicaid and cuts to rural hospitals that the Trump administration is pursuing. They want there to be more fairness and transparency in government, not these special favors for the Mar-a-Lago class. They want there to be higher wages and strong worker protections and good policies for families in this country. And it's not about accusing somebody who disagrees with you of being less patriotic or whatever other names they want to throw around. It's about actually putting together the solutions that 2/3 of Americans already agree on. We just can't seem to get them in today's Washington.
You don't really think that he was the reason Viktor Orban lost, do you? I mean, maybe he just went.
No, but I get the impression he didn't help. And I think that might also be true when they sent him around the trail this year, but we'll see.
Secretary Pete Buttigieg, thank you so much for being here.